Now, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the Formula E. Did you watch it, Daisy?
No, I didn't watch any TV this past
It
weekend.
wasn't on TV, by the way.
Oh.
One had to stream it. And fortunately, I managed to get a very good stream, and everything worked out well. Now, Formula E, what I like about this, it was the inaugural race in Beijing, a street circuit, very, very tight street circuit, for the first ever E-Prix. Not Grand Prix.
That's so
E-Prix.
cool.
I know. And I must say, great crowd that was there. And well, quite a different and unique experience. I mean, I wasn't there, so I don't know in terms of the ambience, but it looked very good. But listening to it via the stream or whatever, it's quite interesting hearing these buzzing bees.
Is this what you were talking about the other day?
That's right. The
Oh.
electric cars.
So it's already started.
This was the first race ever. Now, it was quite exciting, I must tell you, because it's so new and so unique that there was this huge amount of anticipation, and everyone was there, and Jean Todt and everything, and then they set the cars off on the warm-up lap, Daisy, which I must tell you was maybe one of the slowest ever warm-up laps I've ever witnessed. And you just hear these cars going zzz, and that's how they sound.
I have to ask you a question. Did they swap cars?
Yes, yes. So now listen to this. This is quite a unique strategy. Now, first of all, let's take our hats off to Dallara for designing these cars and putting the chassis together. And then specifically, then to Michelin, who are supplying the tires for these cars. And then specifically to Renault, because Renault are the ones who are at the front of creating these racing electric cars. So I think it's very, very cool. So this was the first ever race. So lots of anticipation. Nicolas Prost on pole position, the son of Alain Prost. Okay, Lucas de Grassi was in second position, and then loads of very well-known racing drivers in their own right. Some of them ex-Formula One, some of them from all different spheres, but very, very well-known drivers in Formula One. Now, last week I told you a little bit about them. Yes, they're very quick off the line, but they've only got a maximum speed of roughly 220 odd kilometers an hour. And strategy in this kind of racing is not about, for example, saving tires, okay? Because the tires aren't really going to be overly affected by the pace that these cars run at. But it's more about trying to save battery power. Because the more battery power you have, the more you can push the car and make it go faster. Even though you do have a mandatory stop and you have to change cars. So the pit stop is not a pit stop, it's a car stop. which is very unique, because you see the guys driving to the pit lane, into the garage, out of the one car, jump into the other car, get strapped in and go off again, which is really, really cool. I thought it was a lot of fun. There are a couple of things, and now don't forget, I'm trying to be as objective as possible because this is the first ever race. So just as we've seen in Formula One this year, with the new engine technology where people can't drive with the full boost because their engine won't last, or etc., 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 these electric cars have got their own issues that they have to try and figure out, and the strategists are going to have to work these things out as well. So the couple of points that we've got to get to. One has to be quite conservative when driving these cars in order to make sure that you can go quickly when you have to be quick without using up too much of your battery power, so that when you do change cars, if you've still got half the race to go, you've got to make sure that you have enough power towards the end of the race if you have to try and fight somebody off. So those are certain things and strategies you've got to look for. The negative thing that I found about it is it's quite pedestrian. Yes, and we were told they're only going to get to 200 k's an hour. Unfortunately, from a television spectacle, it is quite pedestrian. But having said that, we did see some very, very good overtaking during the course of the racing. Not as much as I was hoping for, but I'm sure that will improve in time as the people realize how to use the battery power of the engines. So it was quite a lot of fun to actually watch this series and to listen, because it's so unique in its sound, just like the new Formula One is so unique in its sound as well. So, I don't see any issue where I'm watching this electric series and I'm going, well, where's all of the noise? I did feel that because it's a bit slow. They've got to work on the technology. And as I say, it's the first race. It's the first time that this has been done. I think as the season progresses and as the years progress, we're going to find these cars incredibly fast and much more challenging than what they are. There was, however, some bad stuff in the race yesterday. And two incidents over this weekend really caught my eye in terms of, I think, very poor driving and actually shocking driving. The one was in the Super GP race yesterday, which took place at Zwartkops in South Africa, and I'll talk about that a little later on in the program. And the second one was, in my opinion, some of the worst driving I've seen in single-seater racing for a very, very long time. Somebody has just said something very, very clever, saying it's big boy scale electrics. Which is, I take that as a bit of I take that as a compliment, not a negative, to be honest. I think there is legs in this formula, and I hope it does progress. But this is driving yesterday, which should not be condoned by any person in motor racing. In my opinion, the person responsible for this, Nicolas Prost, should be banned for a couple of races in terms of racing. I just think it's a shocking piece of driving. This is now coming to the last corner on the last lap of the race. Nicolas Prost is ahead of Nick Heidfeld, okay, with 600 meters to go in the race, and this is what happened.
As they come towards the final corner at turn 20, is Heidfeld going to fancy a look into the last corner of the race? Heidfeld goes to the inside line and they make contact and they're both off, and that's an accident for Nick Heidfeld. He has gone off the circuit. The two of them come together in the final corner, which means Lucas di Grassi is going to take victory in the FIA Formula E race here in Beijing. A dramatic end to the race as Nick Heidfeld is pitched into the air after contact with Nico Prost. The Venturi team watching on, and what a dramatic end as the cars come across the line. Frank Montani finishing in second for Andretti. It's third for Daniel Abt, fourth for Sam Bird, fifth for Charles Pic. But a shake of the head from Alain Prost. There is Nico Prost out of the car, and he goes as if to say, what happened there? Takuma Sato set the fastest lap of the race, and there is Nick Heidfeld clambering out of his Venturi car.
It's good to see.
It's fantastic to see Nick Heidfeld climbing out. Not really the test we wanted, and I think we might have a bit of a conversation here between these two. And Nick Heidfeld not impressed with that.
Love to see that again, because they got alongside and then there was a big swerve in one direction or the other. Love to see a replay to see which one swerved at which there, because that build up to the move that we talked about.
Was all
So there we go. I mean,
That was disgusting.
it's a show. Listen, he's been given a 10-place grid penalty for the next race. To me, that is, they are very fortunate. I'll be very honest that these cars aren't very quick. Because if that had happened, if they were doing 350 kilometers an hour, and let's be honest, Beijing, fantastic facility, they're going to have to do something about those curbs, because the way that car launched into the air, very dangerous. Fortunately, Nick Heidfeld is okay. The irony is next week, both of them are racing in a World Endurance Championship race as teammates. Nico Prost and Nick Heidfeld.
But that was almost like a spoiled brat little child who didn't get his way and tried to intentionally do something to harm the other one.
Exactly. And you know what? They'll sit and say, oh, well, I didn't see him. You look at it from the various angles, and specifically the angle that I've just shown you. It was an intentional move in. He just knew that he was going to get past on the last corner, and Nick Heidfeld was going to win the race, and he took him out.
That's disgusting.
And that is very unprofessional. Yes, crashes happen. We know that in any form of motor racing. But that was really, really a shocking piece of driving from Nico Prost. I'm surprised he only got a 10-place grid penalty. So, a couple of things. That unfortunately spoiled, I think, was such a terrific and fun race to watch. I'm so glad for Lucas de Grassi. I mean, even though, and I must say, take my hat off to him. Afterwards, he was asked, what about the win? And he said, listen, this is no way to win a race, but we got our strategy a little bit wrong. And he was talking about the elements of he used up too much energy early on in the race, and you know, that's why he couldn't chase with the guys right in the front. So he knew strategy-wise, but he said, listen, the first race we'll take the victory, but and his only concern was, I'm just glad that Nick Heidfeld's okay, because it was a big accident, a very, very big crash.
Goodness, that car was on its head and
on
flying.
Its head. Now, the thing about it is, imagine if that was in a Formula One race and you're doing 350 kilometers an hour instead of 200 kilometers an hour. So that was the inaugural Formula E race, ended with this huge crash with Nick Heidfeld and Nico Prost, and a victory for Lucas de Grassi. But I must say, all in all, a terrific start to Formula E. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem we're going to have it on television in South Africa at this stage, but we'll try and push the powers that be to try and get it. Alternatively, you can find it streaming. I streamed the whole race on Saturday. No issues whatsoever. It really, really was good. So well done, Formula E.
How old is Prost?
Nicholas, I don't know. He's late 20s. He's the son of Alain Prost. So Alain Prost was the 4 times Formula One world champion. But well done to Formula E and to those. I really hope the people were there that enjoyed it. My only concern, it's a little bit too pedestrian at the moment, but I know it will improve, and it was terrific fun. So well done.
GearsOnBalls.co.za with Sasha Martinenko and Daisy Fensham. Weekdays 1 p.m. to 3 p.m.